This is the Irving Planning Board meeting on February 4th, 2021. This is being held online in accordance with Governor Baker's executive order.
I'm not getting very good connection.
Oh, I don't know. You can hear us or hear me?
You take minutes tonight.
What was that, Mike?
I asked if Deb would take the minutes tonight, since he's not here.
Sure, but we need to let Mariah start the meeting, I think. I think you might be a little laggy over there, Mike. You look like you might be frozen.
So you guys should be, you guys are all set. You can call the meeting to order. And there's the agenda.
I went looking for it.
Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Am I still laggy?
You seem better now.
You look better. I don't know if it was me or you, but you looked frozen. Now you look fine.
Yeah, you look better now, Mike.
You're looking great.
I'm sorry, that sounded horrible.
I'd like to bring the meeting to order at 7:03. Is Sergeant Hoist, how do I pronounce his last name?
Holst.
Host.
Is he online too?
That's next week.
Next week.
That's the 11th.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, next week. Okay.
Yeah, he asked to do next week so he would be able to review. He's going to look at the state marijuana laws and our marijuana bylaw.
Yeah, we were fairly conservative, but we got it through all right the first time. So,
Deb's been doing a lot of research.
Could you pull up Sunhee's minutes? I couldn't bring them up.
Yes. So this is from the 21st, which was our last meeting.
Okay. Okay, let's go through. I'll read through them, see if we should add anything or change anything for clarification. Present were Mike Schaefer, Deborah Smith, Sunhee May. Moonlight, you weren't here for that? I thought you were here for that one.
I was here.
You were here,
Right.
okay. Mike,
So
would you hold on one second because let me just write that down so I make sure I can give Sunny the right corrections.
Okay, thank you.
So add Moon for attendance. Okay.
And Brandon, Mariah and Brandon were present. Meeting started at 7:06. Discussion of updating the zoning and subdivision bylaws. Planning board will get feedback from the Irving residents. I'm not sure how that was going to happen. Is that clear enough?
Clear as mud. I think it's discussion of updating the zoning and subdivision bylaws. Planning board will hold a public hearing. Might work better.
Might work better.
Yeah. That's good. So thank you, Deb, for rewriting that.
No problem.
6.1 and 6.2 are the ones I really want to get to eventually. We haven't done those yet. I think that's a site plan and the special permit. So we approved the December minutes, went through mail. Looked like we had missed out on quite a lot of marijuana businesses that have started up in surrounding towns. I mean, I did get another one in the town office last week. I did send it with the agenda in case anybody want. It was timely. It was another, I think, marijuana thing in Orange. But it was the 2nd, so it was a couple days ago. Okay, then the A&R with Brandon Grote.
Yeah, that's not correct. The A&R was for the Demers and one other family. Brandon was here to discuss the lot sizes. So-
Right.
So A&R that was with the Demers, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that needs to be corrected.
yeah.
And then I guess that would be one sentence, and then Brandon spoke more about on lot sizes.
So it looks like below that it says A&R on River Road. So I think if you just take out that first sentence, A&R with Brandon.
Yeah,
then-
just take out. Okay, I got it. Yeah. So discussion on planned unit development in various zoning areas in Irving. Mariah and Deborah will bring a proposed new CV PUD next meeting. I know what she means, but yeah.
A new map.
Yeah, I think,
the word
Yeah.
map.
yeah. Brief discussion of the section 1 purpose and administration. Moonlight makes a motion to approve the rewritten section as amended. Deborah seconds. So that was the purpose section, correct? And
Yeah.
then discussion of affordable homes in Irving without stigmas and how to create and offer such homes. And we're doing a lot of things to help bring in affordable housing. I made a motion to accept the table 4 as drafted by everybody, and we accepted it. So I think a lot of that was to bring in multiple unit. Is that the correct term? Multiple unit housing, not family, but multiple unit housing.
Yes.
And so what do we go to 4 families, I think, by right, or no, by special permit? That could be fairly confrontational, I think. I don't know. When we
I
have
think
our public
I think
hearings.
it's 3. I can pull it up, but
3?
we should get through the minutes first, and then we can look at the use table again if we want.
Okay. And then floodplain updates. There were 2 areas, I think, left to finish. The whoever the manager, the floodplain manager, and the enforcement.
Deb, do you mind just adding the correction to spell Brian's name right?
Oh, yep. Thanks, Mariah.
New business was going to go through Mariah's recommendations on dimensional schedule discussion. So this next meeting is today, and then we're going to have another meeting in a week. And Mariah, you put out one. I think the next meeting's in March, right? After that, or do you remember?
It goes, boy, I have too many tabs open.
I thought it was the 11th.
Yeah, there's the 11th, and then
Yeah, I think we were going to have a public hearing in March.
yeah, I'm trying to find the date. I had that whole email written out.
March 3rd.
Thank you.
March 3rd.
At least that's what my notes have.
Okay.
So Moonlight, with everything going on with you, do you feel like you're going to be able to make all of these meetings, or should we expect that you're going to, take, I don't want to say time off, but we have a lot of meetings coming up, and I want to make sure that you're good.
I do understand what you're asking me, and I'm going to really, really take care of myself. So my first thing is that as long as I can, I will do my meetings and do my part. When I can't, Mike will know long before the meeting comes, so he can let everybody know.
Okay.
Okay.
I will do my
Yeah.
absolute best, Mariah.
Well, and I don't want, I don't want you to feel pressure. I mean, you've got a lot going on right now. And so I think, if you need time to be with your family and, heal, then that's okay. I just want to, make sure that you've got everything you need to take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. I will keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you, Deb. I think everything else was okay. We changed quite a bit. So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second
All
it.
in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moonlight, yes. Mike Schaefer's yes.
Okay.
And Deb's yes. Okay, thank you.
But
So,
I'd like to make a suggestion. Through this whole thing, I'm wearing glasses, and all I seen was black lines.
All
oh,
right.
I-
Is this big
Yeah,
enough?
looks a bit better. I can see a little better, but before all I was seeing was black lines, and I had to
Okay.
get you guys to tell me what was going on.
okay, the update on the A&R that we did last meeting, as Deb noted, the 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 Mylar maps or plans weren't what we normally see. Usually there's a signature box, and I went in and signed them the next day, I think, and I showed Brian. I said, Brian, is this okay? And he said, yeah. I put approved with my signature, and I guess Deb, you signed under that. So
Yeah.
And I guess I should have come in, but I forgot all about it.
that's so. Well, if you can't, Sunhee, I don't know if she's had a chance yet to
I
do it.
don't think she did.
I signed last night at about 10:30 after I was done walking the dogs, and it was just Mike and I.
Yeah, I was there today. So if Sunhee is able to make it over, then Moonlight, you don't have to go in to sign it, because it will have a quorum of signatures.
All right.
All right.
And if it
Well, if not,
doesn't get,
I will make it my effort to do that.
if it doesn't get signed within, my understanding, 21 days, it goes through anyhow. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So, it's not like the end of the world if we don't sign it. Okay. Did you want to, so you want to keep the order I've got here, Deb, or did you want to go to the marijuana thing earlier on, or?
Oh, no, Mike, it's totally fine. We can stick it out. I
Okay.
just for next week. I don't know
Yeah.
if Sergeant Holst is on schedule that night or what. So if we could just get him taken care of first thing, so we don't hog his whole night.
What have you spoken to him at all, or is he kind of wants to study it before he says anything about?
I didn't ask him any questions. I'll be honest, I'm one who feels, I know how I feel about it, and I don't want to put that color into a discussion. So I sent him our marijuana bylaw. I told him that the two areas that we don't have in the use table addressed is deliveries and cafes. And if he could review everything, would he come and discuss with us? I didn't want to give the impression that I was leaning one way or another and speak and make it look like I was speaking on behalf of us. So I didn't ask him any questions. I just asked him to join us.
That was all right, Deb. You did okay. I mean, I think there are many questions that we can ask him for our own individual, understanding. But I think from a legal standpoint, we really do need some input from him. At least some understanding.
Do you all have thoughts that you would like to, drafts that you would like to put in here as the use table? you know, kind of suggestions, and then when Sergeant Holst comes, he can kind of explain if he agrees or not, or do you want to leave it open-ended until you meet with him?
Right now, we don't allow consumption. I'm
My understanding is that this, what's filled in right now is what we have. So I believe it's special, you know, like on here, it's special permit.
I don't think we allowed consumption. I don't think that's correct.
I thought the exact same thing, Mike. So when Mariah and I looked at this the other day and she went, "Oh, well, you have special permit." I went, no. So I don't know if that is something when we did the bylaw that was something that was an oversight and didn't get changed.
How
Well,
did we miss that?
actually, that's that is, if you want consumption, we allow it now. I didn't think we did.
That was exactly my thought. And you know,
I didn't think, I really didn't think we allowed it.
I thought we were at that time we were pretty adamant that we were not going to allow it. So I was with you. I will say I did do some research on some of this stuff. Consumption isn't really allowed anywhere yet. There was a pilot program. I could only turn up news articles that looked like it was going to start, and I think it was 10 or 12 towns that were going to be selected to join if they were interested. But it looks like there's actually some mass state laws that would have to change first before consumption could happen. And I couldn't, nothing against them, but the CCC's website, the Cannabis Control Commission website, they make it look like it's very easy to navigate, but to find information, I actually found it really tricky. I couldn't find anywhere if any of these laws for mass have been changed yet or not. I suspect they have not. Mariah's laughing, so maybe you know more than I do.
No, I'm just laughing about how hard it is to find out legal information.
Oh, it's awful. It is really, really difficult. I will tell you, I actually found more information by going to sites that were pro marijuana, because they all, so I went to like a couple company sites and stuff because they seem to have the most accurate and up-to-date information. So I know where I'm landing with some of the uses. I'm pretty, you know, I'm pretty much yes for delivery across the board. I did a ton of reading on the delivery because I was a little concerned it was like calling Domino's to get your pizza, and it's absolutely not. It's really regimented and very strict in how they do it, which put any fears that I just didn't know enough about it. And I don't know, Moon, what your thoughts are on it.
Well, in general, my thoughts is that there's nothing really wrong with marijuana. I think that the illegal use of it is definitely out of line. And I think there are some still questions about how to use it appropriately, when, where, and how. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm with the board. I don't want marijuana in Irving if it doesn't need to be. So that's my general opinion. Do I need a marijuana store in Irving? No, not really. So I'm with you on keeping Irving clean in that area.
So we do have to be careful with some of that. We can't outlaw stuff because there is and I have to check, and I don't know, maybe Mariah, you can help me figure this out. Back when marijuana was passed on the state level, there were 2 questions. And if my memory serves, Irving voted overwhelmingly yes on both of those questions. And from what I did learn from the Cannabis Control Commission website was, I'm just pulling up my notes here. If your town voted overwhelmingly yes, and not even overwhelmingly, if your town voted yes for those 2 questions, if you choose to ban something and say they can't have it, you actually have to do it through a town meeting vote. Let me read it here. Can my town or city ban adult use facilities. And I believe this also covers stores, pretty much the gamut. Yes, but if your town voted for question 4 on the 2016 state election ballot, entitled Legalization, Regulation, and Taxation of Marijuana, your city or town must pass the ban through a ballot referendum measure where all voters of the town or city have the opportunity to vote.
So we got to put that in the books.
Well, but that's only if you want to ban marijuana business. I mean, you're welcome to do that if you'd like. But that's not what I would recommend.
No, I'm very much that I would love to see it. I think Irving's missing out on a huge chunk of money, and I don't understand why we as a town are not being, we have very flexible bylaws in this area, and I don't know why we're missing out. All of our surrounding communities are getting it, and I don't know why Irving isn't being considered.
But can I stop?
I'm not sure.
Wait a minute, but can I stop you guys for a minute? I was sort of with you, Deb, for a minute. I still am, but I'm lost. So are you really saying that you want to do some marijuana business through Irving and some marijuana business not in Irving?
I think Irving should have marijuana businesses. I think our residents as a whole overwhelmingly voted in favor of it, of marijuana as a, you know, decriminalizing it and supporting it. I think somewhere like the IP mill could be great. I would love to see something maybe happen with the old Christina's restaurant. I am after, you know, Moonlight, when a lot of this stuff, I don't smoke marijuana, so I don't know anything about it. I have a couple friends who do, and when a lot of this stuff became legal, I just didn't know enough. And so I was kind of like, oh my God, anybody's going to be able to go into a store and just, you know, it'll be a free for all. And so chatting with my friends who use and doing my own research, it's so controlled and it's so regimented, and you can't just, you know, walking off the street and, you know, drop $500 on the counter and go, give me everything you got. Really made me feel a lot better about it.
Oh, you should have asked me.
So it really did. Honestly, doing some homework really changed my opinion. And I think from a tax-based perspective, we are missing out on money.
For sure.
Really missing out on money. I think it could be a huge boon to our tax base.
Well, I'm with you all the way on that one, but when it was first, you know, presented, it was presented from the position that marijuana in Irving was taboo, and didn't matter none to me. I wasn't gonna. I do what I do, but that's just who Moonlight is.
Right.
I guess Deb and I both remembered we were not going to have cafes, but we do. So by special permit in Central Village and French King, nobody's, like you said, it hasn't come from the state yet, but we do have that availability if I mean,
So
I think that's not a bad position to be.
my recommendation for these, because basically you all need to decide on medical marijuana treatment centers, marijuana micro businesses, which if you think of like a micro brewery, a micro business is like a comparable version of that. And then marijuana delivery only. So those are the 3 types of marijuana businesses that you all need to decide how you want those zoned. And because Central Village and the French King District are kind of your 2 more commercial districts, I would think that your medical marijuana and your marijuana micro businesses, you would want to either be yes or by special permit in those 2 categories. And probably no in the residential areas. And then delivery, Deb did a lot of research on that, and you're welcome to share what you found. But delivery only as a business is really someone who is registered to use their car and go, it's like Uber or like Grubhub for weed. So it's really just a person who is registered to transport it. And generally, from what Deb explained and from what I have, heard and read, it's basically going to a dispensary or a grow facility, picking it up, and then delivering it to someone. And that's all in a secured vehicle, in a safe that is bolted down to a vehicle. You're showing ID when you pick it up. Someone has to show you ID when you're dropping it off. And that's why Deb was saying she was concerned it was gonna be like calling Domino's, but really it's more like calling the bank and having them deliver you money in an ATM. And so I don't know how you want to zone that, whether you want to keep it just to CZ and French King, or if you want it across the board, since really it's not necessarily a storefront, but more of a driver.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to have better clarification on that, because I take that to be more the business than the driver. The business that's doing the controlling of all the drivers.
Right.
Yes,
I guess.
right.
Yeah.
I think that's what's opening. That's what's opening up in Miller's is a distributor that's going to keep track of all the. I don't think if I started driving for them, I would show up on this radar screen.
No, that's not. I guess maybe I didn't explain that right.
Well,
I guess yes, you're right. What I'm trying to say, I guess, is that the business is really a place where they park their cars, and they maybe have someone with a computer who takes the orders. It's not a large business where there's people visiting there. It's just a hub for the drivers.
I still don't think it's something you probably want in, I don't know, rural residential. Maybe you do. But do you want to have a bunch of cars at somebody's house in rural residential?
So I get that, but then I think of some of the businesses that I know that exist in Irving, and like right near me, I have a heavy trucking company that's just a few roads over. Okay, I guess they're probably closer to you, Mike. Now that I think about it, and well, there's two things. I think we need to get clarification, and maybe this, Mariah, would need to come from Peggy. In doing research for this, when I went back and read some stuff the other night, and maybe this has changed since Peggy provided us this information, it almost seems like delivery has now been sliced into two categories. And it's very hard, again, finding information, it can be a little tricky. I can't tell if this was the way it is now or the way it was then when they first thought of it. So there is marijuana delivery company, and then there is a marijuana wholesale delivery. And they are two different things in definition.
So this says marijuana delivery only retailer, an entity that is authorized to deliver directly to consumers, registered qualifying patients or caregivers from a licensed marijuana retailer, and does not provide a retail location accessible to the public.
Okay.
I could tell you a little bit about it. I do have a marijuana card, and there are places where I get treated differently because I have that card. It also allows me to do curbside pickup. It also allows me to do home delivery. But it only authorizes that from a place that is already established, and they send folks out. In other words, you can't establish as a mom and pop and do this. It has to come directly from the state with all these licenses and stuff.
Yes.
And I think that is the piece of it that makes it the most qualifying and safe of all things, is that everything is done with a single person's number on it from beginning to end. And that makes it safe in itself.
Gotcha.
Yeah, when I read the regulations, I was really shocked at just how strict it is. So like Moonlight, just, you probably know this, but so like when you place your order, for example, when they go to deliver it to you, it gets weighed, it gets looked at, it gets logged. When the driver leaves, it's logged that I'm delivering to Moonlight at, and I'm leaving the parking lot at 9:02. The cars are from everything I could gather, the cars are GPS, drivers aren't allowed to stop. When you get it, it has to be checked and logged again. It's definitely not, it's not nearly as scary or as simple for people to get deliveries as I thought it, as I thought it could be.
That number and that picture is probably the most important thing that occurs, because you go nowhere without those two things. Now, you can go in with a license and get recreational marijuana at whatever prices. You do not go in and get medical marijuana, and you definitely don't get marijuana delivered to your door just on your license. No, it has to come from that medical card.
Yeah, I was really surprised just how strict and the safeguards that they have in place, both for the patient who is having it delivered, the driver, and the business. Personally, I am not as opposed as long as it, and maybe we need to break it out so there's some type of vehicle restriction. If it was a smaller company and they had 2 or 3 drivers, I wouldn't be opposed to it being done via special permit in village and rural. But if it was, Amazon level, then no, I wouldn't want it in those areas. I would stick just to Central and French King. So I don't know if there's a way. I know in some of our other zoning, we have like, if it's 6 employees or less, it can be in this zoning. If we could do something like that, I'm not necessarily opposed if a business, had some land and they wanted to be out in a rural area. And I guess I'm one who, I don't necessarily care if I drive by someone's place and they've got 3 or 4 vehicles parked in the lot, in the yard, as long as it's not unsightly.
Well, the sergeant, we can ask too what he thinks about it. So, I mean, and then there
I
were,
guess,
what else were we looking for? There was some yellow and highlighted in yellow we had to fill in, right?
for the marijuana,
Yeah, I thought,
There's
or maybe
treatment
not. I
center.
thought that was what we were.
um, I don't think so. I think that's it. I think I had just sent you these to fill in.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I think just hearing what you're saying, we're thinking special permit across the board maybe, or by right for some. That's kind of, I mean,
So
I
I
don't
think
think we want to take business out of town.
what would be helpful for next week's meeting when Sergeant Holst is here is for you to all have a draft of this with ideas, and they can be, open to change after his information. But I think in terms, for the sake of time, I think it would be helpful to maybe deliberate and come up with maybe your suggested uses. And then if he gives you more information that makes you change your mind, then so be it.
I would like to throw this out as a part of that, going away and thinking about it. There's a small piece of me that says, if you open that can of worms, it's all going to spill out on you eventually. I'm just trying to say that there are enough, I mean, there is enough access to marijuana in and around the region, the Irving region, that Irving don't necessarily have to jump on the bandwagon and take it.
Right.
We
Now,
also don't get the tax money though.
huh?
Right.
it also means that we don't get the tax money because
I think that-
marijuana is so heavily taxed. A lot of that goes to the community that's hosting it.
I think that we thought about that,
Right.
and at that time, people said, bunk the tax money, we don't want the marijuana. I thought about it the way you're thinking about it, Mariah. However, it does gives us something to think about. What do we want? And maybe what you said, Deb, is that we put it to a vote to the people and see what they say.
Well, they're going to be voting on this anyways. So
This could be,
No.
I think this could be a kind of a confrontational one when we present it. You know, people are gonna feel one way or the other, and
I think you're totally right, Mike. And I think the only thing I keep falling back on is when the vote was taken back in 2016, Irving as a community voted overwhelmingly in support of it.
right.
And so I always kind of default to that. Like, if our residents voted so
think
heavily in
Franklin
supporting it, you know, I mean,
I don't think any towns in Franklin County voted against it. So
yeah, I think so. The way that I would suggest that one idea of a way to frame this is medical marijuana treatment center. Ask where would you want a pharmacy? Marijuana micro business. Where would you allow a microbrewery? Marijuana delivery only retailer. Again, where would you allow a pharmacy that only delivers? So if you take out the context of this being marijuana, and I'm not saying that that's totally irrelevant because it's not, it's part of the context. But if you think about from a zoning standpoint, where do these businesses belong rather than what kind of business it is, if that makes sense? I think that that might clarify some of it.
It does. Central Village, French King Commercial District should be the places where you have special permit. And the residential and the village and the rural should be no.
Do you want it special permit all the way down, or are there areas like in CV that you would say outright, yes, you know, we want a marijuana micro business or delivery or whatever?
we still want a special permit where the neighbors can talk about what happens.
Here, here. What do you think, Deb?
Well, that would be a good draft for me if we do. I hear Deb saying it, but you just want something to present to him next week that's saying this is what we're thinking anyhow. So, what do you have, Deb?
I think I need to think on it. I am right now, if we were voting tonight, I would be voting, I would say I would prefer it to be the treatment center. I would say yes for Central and French King. I think we are in desperate needs of treatment centers across the board. So I can't see saying, I think that would be a yes for me. Micro businesses, they're usually typically small. I think of things like Element Brewery. For me, it would be a yes. And the delivery only retailer, that in Central Village and French King, I think I would probably be yeses on all of them, honestly.
Okay.
In Central Village and the French King.
Why don't you?
Personally, I would let a delivery and possibly a micro business be special permit in VR. I think there's a few pockets where something like that could be done in VR and not have a negative impact on a neighborhood. I think of somewhere like Element Brewery over in Millers, where they're, you know, just down from what I would call the downtown area. And I think we have a couple situations like that here in town where I could kind of see that. But I'm with Mike. I'm totally fine. And let's just pencil it in as special permits, and then we can talk about it once we've spoken with Officer Holst.
Hey,
Okay.
Deb, what is your opinion on treatment centers?
I think they should be a yes.
What is it?
I don't know what it is. medicinally. What is a medical marijuana treatment center?
Right.
Let me read you a definition.
Oh, it's
Um,
yeah, it's just a dispensary. It's not a treat. Yeah, it's a dispensary. That's all. It's not really a treatment center, right?
Right, so it's a medical marijuana dispensary.
Right, it's a pharmacy. I guess pharmacy to me is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so I
I thought it was
As
a
you-
place where they treated you, put like THC on you and rubbed your hand.
like an IV just straight into you.
Yeah.
One thing that I would recommend that if you guys have time to do before the meeting with Sergeant Holst is, like I said, if you're thinking of those as like a microbrewery or a pharmacy, think about, go up to the rest of the use table and see what businesses are already yeses in CV and French King, and see how they compare to that.
Yeah, I would go with what we just said. We don't have time to do any more on this, Mariah, for next week. Go with
Right,
SP
yeah.
Okay, let's move on. The street, okay. I wanted to get the PUD off the table. Last time we didn't vote on it because you were gonna change the map. And really, I got thinking about it, and the map doesn't affect us voting on the Mill Overlay District to limit it to the French King and the CV sections of those other properties.
Well, it kind of does because we're proposing a change to the French King District. We have added a new area for the French King District. So, although we didn't really discuss whether that would be under the PUD or not, but
Yeah, we didn't.
You can't be changing that now, Deb. Well, you can go over what you want to propose, but the French King is the way it is now is what we were gonna include in the PUD. I really didn't want to begin with, but like I said, the Conservation Commission didn't have an issue with it. So I want to get some of these things voted through that we can approve. And that one, I think we're all agreed to.
So I think you would just vote with the map. You can vote on the bylaw itself, and then I think you would just vote when we have the draft map. You would just vote on either confirming the map as is or vote on the map as amended, and then we would go back to FERCog and get the amendment. So I think what you want to do is you probably want to take a vote on the language, like the bylaw of the PUD, which I can pull up right now.
I thought we did that at our last meeting.
Yeah,
That
well,
sounds vague for me.
we held it. No, we stopped the motion because you're tying it into the map, which I don't want to do. I want to pass that planned unit development as written. We didn't do it. We tabled it because you tied it to a map, which is
Okay. Maybe I'm thinking of the table.
Well, if we don't need the map, why can't we just approve it and keep going?
Oh, I remember the highlighting now. It's because of this language. We needed to confirm whether you wanted these numbers. So to be eligible for a PUD, the parcel must have at least 400 feet of frontage and a minimum lot area of 80,000 square feet. The maximum building height for new structures is 35 feet. Existing historic mill buildings being reused as part of a PUD may have a building height that equals the height of the historic structure. And 80,000 square feet
good to
is,
me. I think it was 2.5 acres, she said. I don't know. I didn't double
it's
check it.
about 2 acres, a little less than 2 acres.
That's pretty small. But all the properties we've got laid out are bigger than that, correct?
Yeah, the only thing that I'm not sure about is the 400 feet of frontage. That's a lot of frontage. I would reduce that if I were you, but I don't know about the IP mill. It probably has 400 feet, but that's a huge amount of frontage.
And
I was going to say that
can you find that out before we vote on, make a change? The 3 properties we're looking at?
I can try.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like 400 is a lot.
Well, let's see what we have before we limit it, or it might be not a problem.
Deb, did you say something about your mom's house had a 20-foot frontage?
No, not tonight.
No, but at some point, did you say something of that nature?
I don't think
Okay.
so. I don't recall.
From the curb
But
to
this
the
is,
porch was 20
Oh,
feet?
that's the setback. That's
the
me.
setback.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
frontage is just how much is abutting the road. So 400 feet of frontage is quite a bit. The use table that you were looking at the minimum frontage, and usually like the minimum frontage would be between like 100 and 200 feet. The other thing to think about is even on the areas that you have the PUD now on the map, people might subdivide within that. And so you just need to keep in mind, if they are subdividing and they're putting in a new public way, how much frontage they need on that new public way.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of places where we have sizable buildings, and the only 2 that keep popping into my head is, or the 3, just to kind of give everybody a visual, is like the elementary school, the library, and the senior center. And I don't even think those properties are required to have 400 feet of frontage. And those are buildings that are easily 7,000 to 8,000 square feet. I mean, those are sizable. And I know at one point, not that is directed.
some more information before we discuss it on what the frontage are of the 4 properties we've got lined up for the PUD. I don't think 400 feet may not be an issue for any of them. If look at it, I don't know. So what else? Height, I don't have an issue with that. Any other things? So we can't vote on this until we resolve that 400 feet.
Yeah, I mean, you could just choose to reduce it and then vote on it, or we can wait to get more
I don't want
information.
to reduce it until we find out what the towns are, what the actual frontage is on the parcels we are putting into the PUD.
Oh, okay. I will be back
Any
in
other
1
things
second.
on
I
this
just
we
need
need
to
to
step out
figure?
for a minute.
Okay. We'll wait a second, unless you want to go with what well, you probably can't do the next one, Deb.
Which?
Um,
No, we can, let me just, hold on. Let me finish writing I'm not used to taking minutes and doing the meeting at the same
I
time.
know, it's not
Right.
easy.
It's amazing how quickly you forget how to do this.
Mm. But you're too smart, Deb.
Thank you, Moon.
Mm.
Okay, so streets and properties. Mariah and I met with Ryan from the FERCog on Wednesday morning. He is the map maker. And we went over all of the updates with him. There aren't a whole lot of changes that we're proposing. A lot of it is just cleaning up of some boundary lines that were there. There is a property in the French King District that we're going to remove from the French King District. We're just going to shove the district over a little bit because it's a property that is fully in conservation. So we just don't think it makes
That's
sense.
at the end of that shouldn't be in the French King. You're right.
Yeah,
So
so
was
we
that the
changed.
change you were making there?
No, we're actually proposing, Mariah, if you wouldn't mind scrolling over to Old State.
Yep. One second. Oh, here we are. So for context, the reason that this change that we're proposing came about is Deb and I were talking about how the French King District as it is essentially spot zoning. It's not just one parcel, but it's only one area, and most of those parcels are owned by one family. And so Deb and I were talking, and she brought up, well, is it appropriate to just get rid of the French King? And I said, you know, that's a possibility. The other possibility is, are there other places in town that it makes sense to have French King zoning and add instead of take away? And so one of the areas that we came up with was along Old State Road and Route 2, on the north side of Route 2. So these parcels right here, I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll try to make it bigger. So we wanted to extend CV around this corner to match up with the other side of the road, and then start French King here. And it would go 500 feet back, which is what CV currently is. It goes 500 feet back from the road to this parcel 4-0-3. And then on this other side of the road, it would only be on the state right of way for Route 2. So you can see the parcel outlines, and it's this chunk at the bottom of parcel outline. And it goes all the way to the other end of Old State Road. Realistically, most of this land is not developable. It's ledge, but there are a few spots where something could go in. And
Where?
the only,
Could you, I don't even know where there could be.
these spots over here, definitely. I think there's a few low spots that have fields, like, I don't know if it's one right here and one somewhere down here.
Yeah, I don't want to try to, I don't like that idea, to be truthful. I want to keep it the way it is.
Why?
I think you're making way too many changes, and that I don't see as being a reason to do.
Even for these 3 parcels?
The power line goes right up through there. Where's the power line on this? If that's Old State Road, right? You're showing?
Right.
Yes.
And this is, so Christina's would be right here.
Yeah, there's no land up there that you can develop. It's owned by the power
Well,
line.
there's the lot. I'm not sure. I think it's parcel. Oh, those dots are making it really hard to, the lot that's for sale, Mariah.
Yeah,
There's one lot for sale there on the south side of Old State Road. Yeah, there's one lot. I mean, we've already got the
there's
French
a couple
King.
others that are
The
sizable
reason
lots.
you're doing this is to avoid spot zoning, I guess. And the whole reason we're doing the PUD is to avoid spot zoning too, for the mill. That was the primary reason I'm doing.
No, the
is this
PUD and spot zoning are 2 different things. The PUD is so we have a planned way to develop the mill properties. My concern is when the French King District was done, even per Jackie, it was spot zoning at its finest. It really is. And I feel if we're going through the steps to update some of this stuff and to make some necessary changes, then to me, if you know that you in the past had something that maybe 5-10 years ago when it was done that was common practice, but it's now not, and it shouldn't be done that way anymore. I feel like this is our opportunity to correct that. So, I mean, I personally feel if we're making the changes,
we're not.
I don't feel French King should exist.
Yeah, I don't know. I prefer not to do that at this time. I think you're adding a lot of complexity to this that doesn't have to happen this year. If after this year you want to do it, fine.
But I guess, Mike, that's what I struggle with, but we're making changes now, so wouldn't we make, I mean, spot zoning is, it's technically, correct me if I'm wrong, Mariah, but spot zoning is actually illegal nowadays.
Yeah.
So if we know we have an area where spot zoning, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was, I'm assuming it was acceptable back then, because obviously our maps are approved by the AG's office. And we know that that practice is no longer in use and shouldn't be used. I would think this would be the opportunity while we're in the midst of making corrections and changes to go ahead and make that change as well.
I
mean,
think that the other, even if you take spot zoning out of it, the purpose of the definition of the French King is that it's allowing for some commercial activity, but not to the fullest extent of CV, which is why we chose this spot, because you're coming out of CV and you're coming up to a rural residential neighborhood. And so it's kind of a transition so that you could still have an office with more than 6 people, but you're not going to have a grocery store. And so it allows some business there without having CV extend into a residential neighborhood. And same with along here. I think it's fine if we don't want to do it along Route 2. That land isn't super developable anyways, but there may be spots like this where it's a transition out of CV. And maybe it starts here. You know, we extended CV to the edge of here.
They're adding a lot of complexity to something I don't want to do this year. So
I mean,
you can take a vote on it, but I won't be voting in favor of it.
Moonlight, are you awake?
I don't think he is.
All right, I'm going to turn off his camera for him.
You
Oh,
got
it's my
That
yours
was you,
instead.
Mariah.
That was me. Let's see, another button.
So if we don't have Moon, we actually can't continue because we don't have a quorum.
Yeah.
We'll have our meeting next week. Meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock. I wish I had gotten updates on the floodplain from you, and some other things, but
Deb, here, wait, I don't know, can I?
If I drop off, Mariah, you can update Mike, but we can't discuss any business now.
Yeah,
I've got
Yeah.
some other business with Mariah that Brian suggested that I think's a good idea to
okay.
ask her about.
So I'm gonna stop recording. If I can figure out how to do that, stop showing screen.